How's it going, everybody? It's good to be back after the Four Nations break there, and the Kraken, boy, are they back. Coming out there, winning 2-1 against the reigning Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Fantastic game from the Kraken, and really, I mean, displaying the blueprint of what it's going to take for the Kraken to kind of win games down the stretch. Joey Daccord is absolutely still feeling everything that he was feeling before the Four Nations break. Got that. You got Capo Caco coming out, playing a fantastic game, scoring on the power play early to kick this one off. Shane Wright picking up a pair of assists in this one. The Matty Beniers line going toe-to-toe against Sasha Barkov's line as the top line for the Florida Panthers, and looking pretty good. I mean, there was a lot of positives here for the Seattle Kraken as they were able to pick up the win. Very exciting way to kick off Kraken hockey again for the remaining stretch of the season here. Very good stuff, and I'm really excited to see everybody back here in chat and to be in here for Postgame Live, presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall. Want to shout out the Beer Hall. Ran into some friends earlier at Target, reminded us March Madness is just around the corner, and the Beer Hall always does great for March Madness. So there's that coming up. Where did February go? Like, geez, already we're going to be talking about March Madness and being able to watch that at the Beer Hall. But yeah, that's where we're at. But thanks to Queen Anne Beer Hall for sponsoring Post Game Live as always. And then, yeah, just great to see everybody. Before I dive in to chat real quick, just a heads up, it is just going to be me solo today for post game. RJ is on a flight from Miami to Seattle, finishing up the honeymoon journey, the trek back home. So RJ's unfortunately not going to be able to join us today, but RJ will be around for post game tomorrow after the game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So kicking things off with Kraken fan with the super chat. Appreciate it, Kraken fan. Cab's back and was noticed. Yes, I didn't even mention the fact that Jordan Eberle returned to the lineup and was able to get into the game and was able to play. And yeah, he looked good. Would I say that he's 100% back? No, Jordan Eberle did not look 100% back to me, but to be honest, I saw more from him than I thought we were going to see from him, especially, it was clear he's coming off of such a significant injury, significant surgery, significant amount of time that he has missed. It's always sketchy to know kind of what somebody's going to come back from that and how they're going to be and what performance level they're going to be able to reach. And I was impressed. He looked like he could do it. I think it's going to be something where he's going to slowly kind of ramp back up, which I think is normal and realistically is what we should have expected anyway. But I did like what we saw from him. He got 14 minutes. I like that they kind of put him on that fourth line. He was able to get some power play time. Jordan Eberle definitely looked like he was feeling good, and I think it's just going to be about knocking off some of the rust from not playing so long, rather than trying to build himself back up. And I think that that's a big distinction, and I think that that's what he kind of proved today, is just that he's rusty and he needs to kind of get back into the swing of things rather than he needs to get comfortable playing again. And I think that that's just, like I said, it's a huge difference when you're coming back from a significant injury. But that's what I saw from Jordan Eberle today, and it was great to see that he's able to pick up a couple shots. He's able to throw the body around a little bit in that fourth line role. I think that's all great. The fact that he looks comfortable, he looks secure, being able to go out there, lay out a hit, stuff like that, it really means a lot. And I'm sure it meant a lot to the guys to have him back in the lineup, as well as they're able to go out and pick up the big win in Florida. I know they've always kind of had a decent history playing against the Florida Panthers, but still, I mean, this is a good Florida Panthers team, and the Kraken, they had to show up for this one. They had to show up for this one, and they did. Andrew, stop the tank. I mean, look, gosh. No, I'm not going to be RJ's the negative one now, right? I'm not going to be negative. Look, I think this is the model, like I said at the start, this is the model that the Kraken have to use. This is the blueprint they have to use if they're going to win games down the stretch. It's you're going to have to rely on Joey Daccord having phenomenal performances, just like he did today, just like he has been all season long. But again, you're talking about multiple goals saved above expected from Joey, many times where Florida was able to get very serious, dangerous chances. If you look at a shot chart from this game, Florida was able to get to the middle of the ice a lot. They were able to get very high quality chances. It's just that Joey Daccord, again, kind of bailing out the Kraken defense there. That's going to need to happen if you're going to kind of continue to be able to pick up wins down the stretch with the season. And then, yes, you're going to need to continue to have that depth scoring. I consider that for Shane Wright and his line is that's depth scoring. Again, Shane and ice time, 1340, right? You're talking about third line minutes for Shane Wright. So he is depth scoring for this group. You're going to need to continue to get that performance from him. And you're going to need to continue to get that top line performance from the Matty Beniers, Capo Caco, Jaden Schwartz line, which they were able to deliver. Like I said earlier, the fact that they were able to go out, Paul Maurice is able to get the matchups he wants. He's thrown out Sasha Barkov with Sam Reinhart and Carter Verhaeghe. And that is a devastating line. That is such a good line. And he's throwing that out there against Matty Beniers' line. And what's Matty Beniers' line doing? They're playing in the Florida zone, right? They're driving possession. I know, right? Sam Reinhart, Sasha Barkov, they were at the Four Nations tournament, all that kind of stuff. But so maybe there's like a little bit of a readjustment period for them. But the bottom line is Matty Beniers with a power forward, with a smart, skilled, does all the right things kind of guy, and Jaden Schwartz on the other side with, Capo Caco being that power forward. Matty Beniers is able to shut down the neutral zone. He's able to get pucks out of the defensive zone quickly. They're just able to get up ice. They're just able to play in the offensive zone. And they didn't necessarily generate the most dangerous of chances. Obviously, Capo Caco gets that power play goal. But at 5-on-5, they're not generating the most dangerous chances all the time. But they are generating chances, right? They're limiting what the other team is doing. And they're really able to kind of, in that sense, take very good players out of the game for the other team. And I think that's what we saw today. So I think that's really your formula if you're the Kraken down the stretch is Joey has to continue to play phenomenal. You need your middle six lines to maybe step up and be the scoring. And then you need that Matty Beniers line just to continue to take the other team's top players out of the game. And that's what happened today. Light with the super chat. Two things that deserve a mention. Matty outplayed Barkov basically all game. Well, I beat you to it, Light. Arguably the whole Florida team. And Berkey played great and helped get the game-winning goal. Berkey did help get that game-winning goal. I do like that you mentioned that. And I just talked about Matty Beniers against Barkov. So I'll kind of skip that part of the super chat there from you, Light. Berkey was instrumental in getting that game-winning goal. So if you look at the play and how it develops for the game-winning goal from Jared McCann, which great to see Jared McCann scoring again. It's been a minute, and you could tell that it meant a lot to him, and he was able to get that goal, and he scored it emphatically, and all of that stuff was great to see from Jared McCann. But Jared McCann's able to get that goal. You get the great saucer feed from Adam Larson over the stick of the defender. I forget who was lying on the ground trying to defend that pass, but great saucer feed up over the stick from Adam Larson. You get the great zone entry and play through the neutral zone from Shane Wright, just to kind of help set everything up. He's able to get the zone entry, and then he's able to get the puck back to Adam Larson, who's there in the slot, and then able to make that pass over to Jared McCann. But who gets the puck to Shane Wright? It's Andre Burakovsky in the defensive zone, winning a board battle, digging it out, and sending it up ice for Shane Wright, who's then able to go and do what he does in the neutral zone to set up the chance. And I thought that, it was a really nice play from Andre Burakovsky. I've kind of said it in the past. I don't hate that line of Berkey, Shane Wright, and Jared McCann. Like, I do feel like, because we've seen Andre Burakovsky on so many different lines this season, I really don't hate seeing him with those guys. I do think that there is something where he's able to click a little bit with Shane Wright. He's able to click a little bit with Jared McCann and really just Jared McCann and Shane Wright are able to do so much and occupy so much of the other team that it then frees up maybe a little bit of space for Andre Burakovsky. They're both aggressive players who are going to be aggressively trying to get up the ice, so you're not necessarily relying on Berkey to be the winger that's kind of trying to drive possession up the ice, try to get those zone entries and all of that kind of stuff, which is where things sometimes go awry for him on those controlled zone entries. You know what I mean? Like Shane Wright wants to, as a center, be the guy taking the puck into the zone, like on that game-winning goal. Jared McCann has no issue being aggressive and trying to get up the ice and attack in transition. So I do think that Berkey might have a little temporary home there. I already see in Chuck's super chat, though, I know people want Eberle on that line with Shane and McCann, and I do think that that's probably the next progression for Jordan Eberle. We'll see if we see it tomorrow. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe it'll be a little bit further down the line, but I do think that that's realistically coming. But I think for right now, this has arguably been the best fit for Andre Burakovsky, is kind of playing with Shane Wright and Jared McCann there. Speaking of the super chat from Chuck, I'll get to that right now. Felt like forever without ECH post games. Thanks to you and RJ for the content during the break. Hope to see Eberle on the line with Shane and McCann soon. You're very welcome, Chuck. Thanks for the kind words there, as always. Yeah, I do think we'll see Eberle join Jared McCann again, whether they're going to be on Shane's wing, right? I think that the coaching staff wants Eberle and McCann together. Just look at the chemistry that they had back at the beginning of the season prior to Eberle's injury. They just play so well together. They're able to go out there. They're able to drive the net. They just kind of have that understanding with each other about when each guy is going to kind of take the lead, where the other guy's going to be, if they're going to be the trailing attacker, if you're entering the zone, or if you're going towards the dirty areas of the net. They just have such good chemistry with each other, and they play the game in such the same way that I do think that the coaching staff's going to want to get them together again. Obviously, we saw them start the season with Shane, end up with Maddie, and we saw the early success earlier in the year with Maddie Beniers there. I can't imagine you're going to break up the Maddie Beniers line, though, with Capo Caco and Jaden Schwartz. It's just playing too well. That's why I got to think that, yes, they're going to end up on Shane Wright's wing, and we'll see what that does. I'm a little curious because I do feel like when Eberle and McCann play together, because they are so in sync, because they have that good chemistry, and because they are able to do those things with each other that they do, I'm very curious to see how that works with Shane Wright. And then if Shane Wright maybe becomes a little less involved in the offense on his line, because Eberle and McCann kind of just do their own thing. I could see Shane maybe being like, okay, let me take a step back, play things a little bit more defensively, similar to what Matty Beniers did when he had Eberle and McCann on his wings, right? Matty Beniers was very much like the defensive center. They were scoring, they were picking up points early in the year. Matty Beniers was not, because Matty Beniers was taking care of things defensively for that line while the two wingers kind of went off and did what they did. I think Shane has learned to be a little bit more aggressive. I hope he wouldn't just take a step back and let the other guys kind of cook without him. But that is something that I'm kind of curious about, and it's in the back of my mind for when we see that that line kind of get put back together there. So, well, we shall see. Virginia, we won a goalie interference challenge and McCann scored. I know, two things that just did not really seem possible, right? I talked about the McCann goal. It's fantastic to see him get, to get it. Hopefully this kind of gets him going, maybe, being reunited with Jordan Eberle on the same line tomorrow or in the near future will also kind of help keep that production going for Jared McCann. And that's certainly something that the Kraken could use. And then with the goalie interference challenge, I mean, great call from, the coaching staff, the video coaches, to go for that one. Goalie interferences, right? Like we've been down this road so many times. We know what the rules are. We know that it can be interpreted many different ways. It's just one of those things, but it was certainly nice to see that one called back. And obviously it made a big difference in this game, and it's what allowed the Kraken to walk away with 2 points. B.O. Kraken hockey, how I have missed you. Isn't it nice? Like I enjoyed the Four Nations tournament. I enjoyed the time off and the break and everything. But yes, it is nice to be able to see these guys again, watch them go out there and play, watch Joey Daccord do what he does in the net. Just so much fun. Watch Capo Caco just kind of pick up where he left off last time as Earhead 6, right? With the next comment, can we be excited about Capo yet? I I've been excited about him. I think it's all good. We'll have to take that up with RJ. But yes, I love the way Capo Caco plays. I think again that power play goal he scores. Kraken just did not have guys that would do something like that, right? Beautiful feed from Shane to kind of help set that up. I mean, well, great keep in from Vince Dunn originally with the hand eye to keep the puck in the net. Great feed from Shane over to Matty Beniers. Great feed from Matty Beniers over to Capo Caco. But credit to Capo Caco for really driving the net there and making something happen. Those are the kinds of plays that the Kraken have kind of needed for years. When I talk about the Kraken needing a power forward, that's the kind of goal that I think of when I think of a power forward goal. Maybe he didn't truck as many people as maybe a traditional power forward goal would go, but it's the same mentality of let me walk in with it, let me get in close to this goaltender and let me try to shovel it past him. Right? He's not sniping it past Sergei Bobrovsky there. He's just walking it in and he is shoveling it past him. And I like to see that. And I'm really excited that Capo Caco is a member of the Seattle Kraken because they needed a player who would do things like that. And I certainly think the power play could use him on it and more guys kind of participating in plays like that. Christian, disco dance party, woo, yes. And I've got my celebratory lemon lime Gatorade time here to celebrate, which I'll take a quick sip from now. I'm sure I'm gonna need more later, just with all the talking I'm doing. B, shout out to Canner for finally scoring another non-empty net goal. Exactly 2 months since he last did. Hopefully it's one of many to come in the next few weeks. Okay, it was a long time. I knew it was a long time. That's insane though. 2 months. I mean, that's got to be his worst spell, dry spell as a member of the Seattle Kraken for sure. But like I said, hopefully this will get him going. He was able to enjoy the break, and we'll see what he's able to do kind of the rest of the way here. And certainly having Jordan Eberle back, I think will help him as well, as I talked about earlier. Lindsay, yay for Kako and Canner goals. At least Buffalo and the other teams around them won today too. Yes, if you are still on the tank and you're paying attention to that, that was kind of a big deal today, as well as that Buffalo was able to win. I think Nashville won. So in that kind of race to the bottom, Kraken, this doesn't really hurt them that much. And we'll kind of see how things develop. I'm very curious to see, because you have teams like the Kraken, Nashville, Buffalo, didn't lose too many players to the Four Nations tournament, where then you look at Florida, who had a lot of players go to the Four Nations tournament. I do wonder if it's been more of a struggle for the teams that had more players at the tournament coming back, them getting back up to speed with their own guys, kind of being back in that situation, not having as long of a break. If that maybe made a difference today in some of the games that we saw, right? Obviously, Washington had no players go. They win huge. They drop 8 goals on the Penguins today. I am curious to see if that's something that we see kind of play out, not just today in all the games, but also maybe tomorrow and into the start of next week. Just an interesting thing to kind of look at there. B, also Joey Decord, need I say more? You don't. Joey Decord is he's a stud. He's out there. He's doing it. It's incredible what he's able to do. I talked about it earlier, right? The Kraken defense did not make things easy on Joey Decord in this one. I look at the shot chart and there is just this perfect line. If you look at the money puck shot chart, so you have like the bubbles of all the shots. There is just a perfect line basically right down the middle of the ice that's just loaded up with shots. I mean, that's got to be close to 20 shots that I would consider high danger, just in the slot, just good looking shots. And Joey Decord's just able to take care of it, and he's just able to make it look easy. And it's just something that he's able to do kind of consistently. And it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. Christian, what's up with brooding Shane? Lol. If this is the attitude everyone is always talking about, I'll take it. Okay, yes, I'm glad other people caught that. That was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. I really did enjoy seeing Shane Wright on the bench like that. When what was it coming back from? Was it coming back from the second intermission, or was it just coming back from a commercial break? But we had that long shot of Shane on the bench, and he was just like he looked pretty pissed off, not gonna lie. And he's playing a pretty good game up until that point too. I just think he's locking in. I think he's kind of found that place, that athlete mentality place where he's dialed in and he's just kind of he wants to go out there and he wants to win. He wants to help his team win. He wants to be aggressive, like I talked about earlier. It really does feel like he has just kind of internalized all of the things that the Kraken have wanted him to work on, and he just wants the chance to show it. And I really like seeing that. I love seeing that level of intensity. First game back from an extended break, the way that everybody had. I'm all for it. I love seeing that from Shane, especially in a good game, against a good team, stuff like that. There's a lot of good stuff. As Samantha said, so many good things from this one. Pablo, yes, baby. Decord, baby. He is the man. If we had Gruby, he would have given up 8 goals. Oh, throwing shade at Philip Grubauer. We're going to see how Stezka does tomorrow. I mean, unless they're going to do some sort of switcheroo overnight, it looks like Stezzy probably in line for the game tomorrow, unless they're going to double bump Joey. I don't know. We'll kind of see how that goes. But Gru doing good stuff down in Coachella Valley, and I got the report from Jen, who is down in Coachella Valley right now. Said just everybody's loving Philip Grubauer, which does not surprise me. Grubauer is a pretty lovable guy when you're interacting with him behind the scenes. So Terrible Lotus, that felt nice. Yes, it did. The Ides of March knocking, according to John. That is true. Yes, they are. Like I said, I gonna go with something a little bit more poetic there, John Forslin. Whereas I'm just like, oh, March Madness. You can tell where my priorities have kind of always been with sports. Edward, another Kraken win in South Florida. Isn't it crazy? I mean, I remember back like season 1. Weren't the Panthers like the first team that the Kraken ever did a season sweep against? It was the Florida Panthers. Go figure, right? And I know they weren't the Stanley Cup champion and Stanley Cup runner up teams that they've been the last 2 years, but still had good players. Like they were still good. So kind of weird just how we've always had the Florida Panthers number. Jeremy Jordan Eberle buff. Jared McCann finally scores. Decord masterclass. Right 2 points. You laid it all out, Jeremy. This is what the game was for sure. B, yes, they won it for the captain. Ebbs is back, and it's so wonderful. It is. I am happy. I'm really, really, happy to have him back, and I'm excited to see how things go there for him, and how the recovery goes, and how fast he's able to kind of shake off that rust and get going, because I do want to see him on that line with Jared McCann and with Shane Wright and see what they can do. And if Shane can maybe join the two of them, build some chemistry with the two of them, be aggressive with the two of them. The way we know Ebbs and Shane can have chemistry. We saw that last year from the two of them. But with Jared McCann also there, can we get all 3 of them going? Because then you're talking about having that kind of puck possession line with Matty Beniers, and a line that's able to kind of create offense, not so much through grade A chances, but just through sheer force of will, by always playing in the offensive zone, and then having, a guy like Capo Caco make his power moves, Jaden Schwartz just be net front for greasy goals, stuff like that. But then you could follow that up with Shane Wright, with Jordan Eberle and Jared McCann as maybe more of a skill line that's able to go out there and punish teams in a different way and be dangerous in a different way. And I think if you're able to build up that chemistry with Shane and Jared McCann and Jordan Eberle kind of all together, and you're able to then go into next season with those 2 lines at the top of your lineup, I think you're looking really, really solid if you're the Seattle Kraken. Stratic, how lucky are we to get to cheer for Joey Decord this season? He's so fun and he is so good. And not just this season, right? I mean, Joey Decord's going to be around for a while. Obviously, he's showing no signs of slowing down now. Hopefully, knock on wood, that stays the case moving forward. But yeah, no, it's fantastic to be able to watch him. I mean, every time, like I just kind of run out of words to describe what I see from Joey Decord because it's just he's just putting on master classes one game after another, right? Evan with the super chat. We're back, baby. Yes, we are. The Seattle Kraken picking up that win coming out of the break. Absolutely love it. Oh, so good to be able to talk about a win as the first game back. Like if this came back and it was just like the Panthers kind of stomped on the Kraken, well, it would have been a little tough. I'm liking this though. I feel juiced up. I love it. Rebecca, Kraken showed up after the break. Huge one for Ebbs, Kako, and our Florida boys. Yes, and it was nice that both Montour and Josh Mahura able to get kind of the recognition from the Florida Panthers organization and fans there, because I was worried maybe a little bit about the idea of maybe Brandon Montour more significant part of those Florida Panthers teams on their runs to the Stanley Cup than Josh Mahura, and so you always wonder, like, I mean, are they going to do the one guy and maybe not the other? But they were able to take care of both guys, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun, and I do want to go on to the Kraken website and check out the story on the two of them and how they've just been kind of linked up together. And if you're a Patreon member, my my ridiculous nearly 2-hour Red Glare special that I did solo yesterday, where I kind of went through all of my old let's see here, my old Future Watch and draft preview issues of the Hockey News and kind of tracked all of the members of the Seattle Kraken from when they were drafted and then as prospects in the different organizations and everything, kind of being reminded of Brandon Montour and Josh Mahura starting things off and being in those, top 10 Anaheim Ducks prospects sections all those years ago, and then thinking about them in Florida and the success they had there, and then now being with the Kraken. It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool. There's RJ in chat. And yes, everybody kind of saying like Edward, RJ skipped covering the game against the Cats to spend more time with Cat. Good for him. Yes, I don't know that they're planning. Yeah, I think after that much time away from home and everything, I think they're just trying to get back. But yes, it was kind of coincidental that they had a layover in Miami today coming back from Europe. It was pretty funny. Just go hop up there, B, and we get 5 more years of him too. Talk about Joey Decord. Joey Decord is such a gift for sure. So Jared McCann is not for sale. That is kind of the word on the street. I think Elliot Friedman talked about that in maybe not the most recent 32 Thoughts, but one of the more recent 32 Thoughts, because Jared McCann's name had been out there in the rumor mill as far as potentially being available from the Seattle Kraken. It sounds like multiple teams have called inquiring about Jared McCann, and the answer from the Kraken has been he's not available. Like I'm sure, if you were to like offer some ridiculous, insane overpay, Ron Francis would listen, but it definitely sounds like the Kraken are not shopping him. And I think that's good to hear for a lot of Seattle Kraken fans. Pablo, when's Groovy coming back to the Kraken, Dylan? I don't know. I thought that there was going to be a chance that they'd bring him back for this because of the back-to-backs to start things off after the Four Nations break. It would have allowed Grubauer to play through that Four Nations break, maybe find his game again. It does look like he's kind of found his game again, but obviously the Kraken have other plans. So this seemed like the natural place to kind of bring him back. Otherwise, I guess we'll just kind of wait and see what they have to say. We'll see maybe if Stezka plays tomorrow, what Stezka does, and maybe the Kraken will kind of go from there based on what they see from him against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Amy, can't win against the Ducks or Sharks, but the defending Cup champs, no problem. That's Kraken hockey, baby. Yes, it is. This is the beauty of rooting for the Seattle Kraken. Is you know you're going to get a good performance against the Florida Panthers, but boy, walking into Climate Pledge Arena with the visiting Anaheim Ducks or San Jose Sharks, and you got to walk in there biting your nails and just being stressed out, and you're just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to get myself into tonight? That is what it is to live Seattle Kraken hockey. That should be their new commercial. Is just everybody being worried having to go into the game against a home game against the San Jose Sharks or the Anaheim Ducks. That I'm sure that would sell a lot of tickets. Elbel, I have such a weird hunch we're going to see Joey and Net tomorrow. It makes me anxious. I'm kind of there with you. I'm very intrigued to see what we end up getting tomorrow from them. If we do see Joey, I don't know. That would just feel wrong. Just feels wrong if you do it. Stratic, yeah, going forward, you trade vets, play the kids, and see what happens. If that results in tank, take the picks. If it doesn't, that's great too. Future's still bright. Yes, and I think that's really where the Kraken are. That's what I've been kind of talking about the last couple of weeks with the Kraken. Is as long as you are putting the future forward, I'm okay if you don't end up picking top 3, top 4, top 5. You're going to still end up picking high. Like there's no way this team goes on some, 20 game win streak and really, takes themselves out of the high lottery picks. Right. So I think, you throw away a couple picks in the draft order, a couple spots in the draft order, if it means playing Shane Wright more, which didn't happen tonight, but he still had success. If it means playing Riker Evans more, if it means playing Capo Caco and Matty Beniers more, if it means getting all of those guys ice time, if it means calling up maybe somebody who's doing well in Coachella Valley, I don't really think there's space for something like that right now. But if you're able to move a number of guys out of the lineup before the trade deadline, that is certainly a possibility. But I'm right there with you, Stratic. I just think that that's the smart thing for the Seattle Kraken to do, and I think that development time and the confidence that can be gained by players like Matty Beniers and Shane Wright from having the increased ice time, the increased opportunities, and then in this scenario where the Kraken are winning games, the increased success is going to just be more valuable for the group than, say, the difference between picking maybe 6 versus 5. Right. And so I think that is something that the Kraken kind of have to consider down the stretch here, and we shall see. Rebecca, nice to see Ebbs doing media again. Oh, yes, that's gotta be really good. I can't wait to go check on that after this. Daniel, pretty sure this is the first time we've won the first game coming out of a mid-season break. Guys usually come back looking pretty hungover from the break. I think you might be right about that, actually. I mean, I have no idea if you've researched it or not, but that feels right to me. Like I said, I do wonder if these teams that didn't really have players going, maybe they have a little bit of an advantage from this. And, it is a longer break than what we're used to for the All-Star game. It's a, the fact that it was a 2-week break. Yeah, I don't know. And obviously we know they were able to handle the mini break, the Christmas break pretty well, the Kraken earlier this year. But yeah, I'm intrigued on that. And then Pablo Kraken 5-2-1 versus the Panthers in their history. It's so weird. I don't understand it, but there's just always one of those teams. Daniel, do you have a new camera? Video looks really sharp. No, this is the same setup. I don't know, maybe internet just blessing me today. It's always possible. So I've seen the discussion in here about who's going to play tomorrow, right? Whether it's going to be Joey Decord or Stezka. Look, I know, people like Jake, right? It has to be Stezzy, right? I would love to say yes and just be like, let's go. Let's see what Stezka can bring to the lineup. Let's see what he can do. I know there were so many conversations around earlier in the season, right, with Philip Grubauer kind of playing and struggling the way that he was. What's the idea with maybe if we can bring in Stezka, waiving Grubauer, all of those conversations that were had. I really do want to see Stezka at the NHL level. I want to see what he can do. And I want to see somebody not Joey Decord behind this Kraken defense, because I know I haven't talked about it a lot. I didn't want to kind of, pour a bunch of cold water over the celebration that we're having here after the Kraken win. But like I said, the shot chart is really worrying me. The fact that after the first period, the Panthers were able to kind of take back over the game and just kind of do what they wanted to do. They still didn't even look right. And that's the thing that I think scares me the most, is that the Florida Panthers did not look like the Florida Panthers really through all of today's game. And yet they were very close to being able to win it, right? And I think that kind of says a lot. It felt like the Kraken did everything that they have to do in order to get a win, and the Panthers kind of like almost looked like they rolled out of bed and they just showed up, and this game ended up being 2-1. Right, and the Panthers are able to kind of dominate the shot chances, the shooting chances, the expected goals, all of those things. And so you know there's still a lot of elements of the Kraken that isn't great. It's not playing well, that they're struggling with. And there's a part of me that just wants to see what does this look like without Joey on the high end, making it look okay, right? Or survivable, because he's been that good. And then what does it look like without Philip Grubauer, who has just kind of struggled with his own game, and has made it so that he could maybe at times be a scapegoat for those defensive struggles and everything, right? And so I kind of want to see, let's get somebody else in there and let's really see maybe where this team is. If you're able to get like true average NHL average goaltending, what do the Seattle Kraken look like? Because right now you've had high end, you've had low end. We haven't really seen that middle. And so for that reason, I want to see Stezka in there, also because I don't want to burn out Joey Daccord. I think that could be a potential issue for this team down the stretch, especially if they're able to maybe pick up a couple wins here, and they really want to go for it and all of that kind of stuff. I just don't want to burn out Joey. Joey, if you want to be a winning team next year, you want to compete for the playoffs next year, you're going to need Joey. You're going to want Joey to be fresh. You're not going to want him to be dealing with an injury that he sustained late this season. I really would not. I really don't want to see Joey play back-to-back games. But like, we've seen them kind of do this before when they're in this spot, right? Like, this has kind of been that's kind of been the direction that they've leaned, and it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Joey tomorrow. So that's just kind of where I'm at with this. B, if for some reason they do play Joey for both halves of a back-to-back for the second time this season, I'll scream. I know the first time was unplanned, but you should just never do that. That's where I'm at too, right? Like, it's just so unnecessary, right? Like, you're not making the playoffs this year. You don't need to do it. Give the poor guy a rest. He's doing everything he can for you already. You don't need to be doing that. And then Jacques, we've beaten the defending cup winners the last 3 years, Avs in the first round, Vegas at the Winter Classic, and Florida today. That's a really fun stat. Thank you for bringing that in. That's a lot of fun. That's really cool that the Kraken have been able to do that. That's a lot of fun. And then Michael here with the super chat. Great win, but Florida was also missing Kachuk, so that helped us some. Yeah, and they had a lot of players kind of coming back and getting back into the swing of things. And they've also had their own guys that were shaking off rust from the long break. Sorry, my brain just shut off for a second there. And like I said, Florida, they didn't even look like that great, but they were able to keep the game close, and they were able to kind of dominate in some significant ways in this one. So yes, it is a win, but I do think that there's elements of this game that show how much further the Kraken still have to go. But it's just nice to see that the building blocks are there, right? Capo Caco, the Matty Beniers line, Shane Wright and what he's able to do, having Jordan Eberle back in the lineup, even though he's working his way back, having all that stuff there is still positive. And then Evan with the super chat as well. What's Caco's and Shane's points per game since the trade and scratch? It would take me a sec to pull that up. I can tell you that Shane's points per game since the scratch, I talked about this on the deep dive that we did going into the break. It was close to a point per game. It wasn't a point per game, but it was kind of close. Capo Caco has played 24 games with the 25 now today, 25 games with the Seattle Kraken. And in that, he has 6 goals and 18 points. So 18 points in 25 games for Capo Caco, extremely respectable. I mean, that's really good stuff right there. And then if I go to Shane Wright, we'll see if I can do this quickly. When was the scratch? The scratch was in November. If I highlight that and highlight that. So since Shane Wright was scratched, he has played 37 games this season. And in those 37 games, he has 31 points because he picked up 2 today. That's including today. So I'm including the 2 assists today for Shane Wright, and I'm adding the game. So 37 games for Shane, 31 points. Like I said, close to a point per game pace for him. It's definitely beyond my math ability to say whether or not that's a better point per game percentage than Capo Caco's, what did I say, 18 and 25. But those are both respectable. Like, those are good. And I think that, like I said on the deep dive heading into the break, that level of production from Shane Wright in his first full NHL season, if you just look at that time frame, those 37 games since the scratch, you don't look at the time before that, that's incredible production that you're super happy with, especially when you're factoring in that time he's averaging 1405. That's actually going to go down because that's his average time on ice before today, and today he played less than that. So let's just say 14 minutes to make it easy. The fact that you got a guy basically, putting up close to a point per game on your third line in his first full NHL season, that bodes very well for the future, and it bodes very well for Shane Wright and what he'll hopefully be able to become for the Seattle Kraken, as they're looking for somebody who can be a consistent point producer for this group. I mean, that is really what this team is just fundamentally missing, is that kind of, we always say superstar level player. They're just missing somebody who can just put up points, who can just put up goals. Right? Like, they've had Jared McCann, but it's tough. Like, when you're watching a game like this and they talk about somebody like a Sam Reinhart, and, they talk about Sam Reinhart and he's got 31 goals. And all I can think is, like, what is that? Like, our top 2 goal scorers combined? You know what I mean? And it's just like other teams just kind of have that existing. There's multiple players out there that assist per game this year, right? And for reference, our top 2 goal scorers would be Jaden Schwartz and Eli Tolvanen coming into this game, and that would be 34 goals, the 2 of them together, right? And so it's just fundamentally that is what the Kraken kind of have been missing. And so for Shane to have that level of production, given the limited ice time, the limited opportunity, as well as it being his first full season and him having to navigate that and navigate the healthy scratch and take in all the lessons that the organization has kind of been, throwing his way, I think is extremely positive. I think that, you look at that at the end of everything, and you're like, okay, that's actually cool. Like, let's go with that. So, there, just not to go on a total, tangent there, but I'm really happy with the production that they've gotten from Shane Wright since the scratch. I think it's phenomenal, and I think it's exactly what Kraken fans should want to have seen from Shane this season, and probably realistically what a lot of us were expecting from him as well. Terrible Lotus, maybe the Kraken only win over mammals rather than birds or other marine life. Do we have to bring back the epic debate? This was season 1 for sure. I'm trying to remember if this is before the Kraken had even played a game. So RJ and I used to make videos weekly, way back at the very beginning of Emerald City Hockey, that were called ECH Debate, and they were just like little debate videos for us. And this was not a full debate topic for one of those videos, but there was a period in time where we did debate, and we engaged with the community on who would win, a single Kraken or 10,000 ducks. And I did say that I did think that 10,000 ducks could beat one single Kraken, just because I think a Kraken would exhaust itself before it could kill all 10,000 ducks. That was my argument, that I didn't know if a creature as large as the Kraken having to stick tentacles up out of the water to grab all of the ducks, and chase them down as they're flying around, and they become harder and harder to grab as the numbers get thinned. That seems like it would take a lot of calories, and I don't know that it could replenish itself just on ducks. That was my big epic argument there, and you know what? Maybe there's something to that. when it comes to the world of the NHL. The NHL would be a league that is stupid enough to work that way. Edward, weren't the Panthers the President's Trophy winner the Kraken's first season? Expansion team knocking off the top team in the standings. That sounds right as well. Like there was something like that. They were a very good team up there. Yeah, that is very possible, Edward. This team. Let's see, Stratic, though there's a period here where ice time for kids maybe take a backseat to showcasing vets for trade. Tanev at 16-19 feels a little like a showcase. It does, especially. I'm totally with you there, Stratic. I think that we might see that a little bit here for the next 2 weeks leading into the trade deadline, especially with a guy like Brandon Tanev. The fact that you don't have Yanni Gourde out there and you're not able to kind of showcase him. And I do wonder with a player like Brandon Tanev, obviously teams are going to be interested in him. It's still a big contract to swallow. And even if you retain half of Brandon Tanev's, contract, it's still, not an insignificant amount of money for a team to have to absorb for a guy who's going to be in the bottom six and be a special teamer for them for a cup run. Because, I mean, what is Brandon Tanev making right now? Where is he? Yeah, 3.5. So, you can, I guess that's okay. You could probably retain half of that and then somebody can make it fit, but you're probably not moving out all 3.5 and getting as high a return as you'd want for a guy like Brandon Tanev or that you'd want just for anybody at the trade deadline. And I agree that it does feel like a showcase because you only had one penalty killing opportunity right at the beginning of the game, and great way to start the game for the Kraken as well with that beautiful PK. That was really solid work from them. So yeah, Tanev getting that much ice time, only one PK opportunity for the group. I'm with you, Stratic. That very much feels like they're just trying to show him off, potentially showing him off to a team that might want him, might want somebody like that. You never know. That is definitely possible. I see the comments about the picture there, and yes, Zoe is correct. That is Adam Larson. This was actually sent to me from an ECH fan back during season 1. Very, very thankful for that from Brian. But I do like Christian Santos say it. Christian there, Victor Rask. Just good callback to the Red Glare, and definitely a good callback to year 1 as well. That is really funny. Joey's had 2 weeks off and can't go back to back. It's not about him that he can't go back to back. It's that you just don't want him to. And then, like I said, my own personal curiosity, I want to see a different netminder back there behind this team and see what it could be. But it just feels it's just one of those things that you just don't want to risk it. There's no point in risking it. What does it really gain you in the grand scheme of things, right? Like it's a scenario in which you virtually only have something to lose. So that's in the form of an injury to Joey. And so I wouldn't risk it myself. Bryce saying the radio broadcast mentioned Stezka would be starting tomorrow, but I'm not sure if that was an assumption or inside information. They would know. They would know if anybody is part of that radio crew is saying that. I don't know, who it was, but if Everett Al or Mike Benton is saying it, I would assume they're saying it because they know. They're all dialed in. They're all the best. Oh, that radio crew is just the best. I know you all get to experience the great stuff that they do on the broadcast, but I'm telling you, behind the scenes, all three of those guys are just fantastic human beings. Love working with them and spending time with them. It's Kitty B Kraken with a big super chat. Thank you very much, Kitty B Kraken. Really, really appreciate this. So happy to have Kraken hockey and ECH back. Always nice to beat the Stanley Cup champions. Here's a few bucks to pay for RJ's Uber ride home. That is going to be brutal, I am sure, coming in tonight. Oh yeah, it's going to be one of those late night SeaTac Uber rides. Those are not cheap. So appreciate that, Kitty B Kraken. Really appreciate that. There. Let's see. Jeremy, definitely putting right on the home jersey I bought. I think that's an excellent choice, Jeremy. That is a great choice there. Chuck, you mentioned in the most recent lockout in the Red Glare. Sometime I'd love to hear you guys discuss the different NHL lockouts and their impact on the game in a future Red Glare. We can definitely do that because we definitely have thoughts. And it was, yeah, there's the fact that there's so many just in our little lifetimes to have to go over is just brutal, just brutal. I don't know if I just never noticed, but I like the added set dressing, like the Lars photo and the hockey plays and strategies book. Yeah, no, these have been here for a little while. I think normally I'm so much smaller because RJ's here with me, so we don't really get to do it. But yes, I've got pucks from all the significant games I've covered or events I've attended, drafts, Stanley Cup Finals, Winter Classic, stuff like that. There, got my trusty old hockey plays and strategy book, which I still think is one of the greatest kind of hockey coaching, like intro to systems and strategies in hockey books out there. I definitely recommend it. Yeah, no, I'm happy with how this whole setup kind of came together and everything. I think it looks good. B, thank you for doing the math here. B, Shane is at 0.837 points per game since the scratch. Kako 0.72 since the trade. So Shane is a little bit on a better pace, plus a larger sample size for him. Yeah, and I do think that larger sample size is a little bit significant. So I do think that is good. But yes, thank you for doing the math. And I love both of those from a points percentage standpoint, points per games percentage standpoint. I think those are both very healthy numbers. And that's stuff that the Kraken could definitely use for sure. Let's see. Terrible Lotus. If they were diving ducks, I think the Kraken would have a harder time than if they were 10,000 dabbler ducks like mallards. Ooh, I had not considered the type of duck, the species of duck, when talking about this, but I don't know. I'm just 10,000 against one is just big. It's just I choose big number over little number, I guess. It's just how my brain works. And Christian, I think that was also the season with the doors versus wheels debate, which we really should not start again. I still sometimes, if I need to get RJ to leave a room quickly, I will bring up the doors and wheels debate because he's just quickest way to get him out of there. Is to bring that up there. But yes, all you OGs absolutely know what that turned into. That was weeks and weeks of debate and everybody in the community chiming in. That was a lot of fun as we were getting started. And like I said, I really feel like that was like kind of right before the Kraken were starting to play year one too. So it was just all the excitement around everything. That really takes me back. That's a lot of fun. Super chat here from Evan. Appreciate it, Evan, especially because this is not your first one today. So appreciate the multiple super chats. With how we've utilized and developed Shane versus how Montreal has developed Slafkovsky, do you think the move from first to fourth was a mistake? And if you made the pick at the time, who would you have taken? So at the time, I was on the record, I would have taken Shane. I think knowing, not necessarily knowing anything about the players now, but just kind of how my philosophy around things have kind of shifted and understanding the directions that the NHL as a whole has kind of gone. If I was to go back and advise myself in that scenario, in that draft, who I would have taken, I would actually say to take Logan Cooley first overall, probably, just because of the speed dynamic and how the NHL is becoming so much more transition based. And I do think that Logan Cooley is better at that than either of the other two guys. And that, he might end up having the most successful career of the three players from that. But at the time, I was very much on board with Shane. I just think centers and the potential to draft a center who has rock solid first or second line potential just means more than drafting a winger. I think both players have had kind of rocky experiences to start their career and their development cycles. I think it was a lot. Both of them got thrown into the NHL way too soon. I understand why Montreal did it with Slafkovsky, and I do think that it was a little bit easier for them to do it with Slafkovsky than with what the Kraken were kind of experiencing. But I think that, Slav has developed into somebody that I did not expect him to develop into, which is a good playmaking winger, somebody who can create from the perimeter, and that is just not really what he projected to be. That was not kind of who he was. If you looked at things from from a draft standpoint, where Shane is starting to become what he looked like in junior, where he is, a player that when he is playing aggressive, when he's playing with that confidence, he can make a lot of things happen. He's got that 200-foot game. He can do all of those things. I still think center trumps winger. I think that value is just there, and that means more. But that is an interesting question. I think Sloth has played well for Montreal. Will it ultimately be one of those things where Shane pans out longer? I think it's possible that in the long term Shane pans out better than Sloth does, just because, again, of that center value that I just think he has that Sloth doesn't have. But I don't know that right now either team should be that upset with how things have gone. Like, that was another thing, kind of going through all of these old articles and looking at guys that maybe didn't make it, or struggled, right? First overall picks that had issues and development paths that were not handled well. And just being reminded, so many superstars that are now in the NHL, Nikita Kucherov popping up from, the draft preview issue to many years in the Future Watch issues, and how he kind of ascended in the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. But it was still 4 or 5 years before he becomes Nikita Kucherov at the NHL level, right? And obviously look at what he is now, and the fact that he can lead the NHL in points and years and things like that. I still think with both of them, even though they've had such turbulent development patterns, it's just hockey, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. And I think that we've been very spoiled by some very recent players who have been able to come into the league and produce right away, or even like later ones. It slid off the pile, but Nico Hischier and him coming in as a first overall pick, his development path kind of being rocky like that. I do think like it did kind of remind me and help me reset expectations for how long it does take realistically most players to end up these guys, and for them to end up at the level that they ultimately end up being. Like, it just really is. It just really is one of those things. So, but it's a really good question. It's a really good question. Yes, there we go. My assistant has handed me the 2017 draft preview there with Nolan Patrick. There you go. Who's going to go number one? Nico Hischier, Nolan Patrick. Devils made the right choice. That's all I'll say on that one. And Jeremy saying, I think if Montreal did the exact same thing as we did with Shane, they would have gotten shredded way more in the media. Yeah, taking out the media and everything like that. I think that's the way it is. Yeah. So, all right. I think that's going to do it for this one. You're back. You're back. Afra's here. You want to say hi to everybody? Let's talk about throwbacks, right? Yeah. Throwbacks. Afra can help me maybe end this one here. She's in my lap, but this is blocking. There we go. Want to thank everybody for joining today to celebrate the Kraken win, the return of Kraken hockey. Really appreciate it. Appreciate all the kind thoughts for RJ, and I can't wait to have him back tomorrow. We'll see. Oh, that's as low as the desk goes. Really excited about the win. Really excited about all the stuff that worked out for the Kraken in this one. Really appreciate all y'all showing up, all the super chats. Really means a lot. Appreciates all the good conversation as always. And of course, appreciate Queen Anne Beer Hall for being our wonderful sponsor for these post-game lives all season long. Take care, everybody. And we'll see you all tomorrow after the Tampa Bay game. And we'll see what goalie starts.